What's going on, guys? Indy here with Home Theater Review. So guys, today we're taking a look at the Juke Audio Mate. Now I'm actually an AV installer myself. I'm in my, 16th year of installing high-end audio video, of course doing integration, things like that. And whenever you want to do, say, like a whole house audio system, we're in a pretty big, house right now. It's my father-in-law's house. He's got, I think, 16 zones in here total. I installed them. We got a pretty big rack behind us here. It's actually, if you actually go behind here, there's actually an entire rack room behind here. It's pretty wild setup we got here. And if we want to add in more zones or sources, or we want to add in more endpoints, how do you do it? That's kind of the issue you run into with a lot of stuff. But Juke Audio's Audio Mate actually has something pretty wild for only $250. We actually have a HDMI ARC. We have a in and out on here. We also have analog audio out and in at the same time. So let's say that we want to add in maybe a turntable over there, or maybe we want to add in this system here. This is actually very simple. We're just using an Amazon Fire Stick, a TV, and of course a new Nakamichi soundbar with surround sound system here. Let's say that we want to add this into the system. Well, we could maybe throw an optical cable here because we're so close to the rack. But what if you're not that close to the rack? What do you do then? Well, there's lots of other options you can do, but they're going to be pretty expensive. And of course, you're talking maybe Control 4, maybe Crestron. That stuff adds up super fast and gets super expensive. But the Audio Mate by Juke Audio does this super easy. All you gotta do is basically just use one of the inputs there and boom, you can add that source into your entire Juke Audio system just like that. It's that simple. I'll show you guys how easy it is to install one of these. Now the app process is beyond simple. You literally just plug this thing in, you keep close to your phone, and it finds it on the app, boom, you're in. And this thing took like 5 seconds. There's nothing to it at all. Compared to like Crestron, Control 4, this thing is miles so much easier to install. All right, so we're going behind the TV now to install this. I got an HDMI cord here, I've got a USB-C here. So basically to install this, we're just gonna go HDMI ARC in, boom, easy. And then we are just gonna be powering this thing with USB-C, which is right on the back side here, which you can then nicely plug into the back of that USB output on the TV. Super easy to do there. Now, my only complaint on this thing is, yes, they do include some Velcro straps there to Velcro this to the back of the TV, but I'm a big eyelet fan myself, and I wish this thing had some eyelets so I could just zip tie this thing to the back of the TV. I mean, a lot of these devices, I'll just put a whole zip tie around the whole thing and then zip tie it to the nearest cable, but this thing's pretty thin, and it will slide behind a TV relatively simple there. And if you're wondering, is this an audiophile grade product? Not really. It's kind of designed for whole house audio. That's an entirely different animal than what you're thinking of when you think of 2-channel. When it comes to surround sound stereo, it's totally different worlds there. So this is definitely not a high-end audio product by any means. We're really just kind of getting the basic, left and right channels. That's about it. Now, of course, when we have the entire Juke audio system here, this, of course, is going to go in your rack. Would I dare say slide this behind a TV? Maybe like, your family room cabinet, you slide this behind something like that. Maybe that could work like that. Now, the house we're in here, of course, we have just, zones in the ceiling here. We got one up here, one over there. Super easy to, of course, if all the wiring is in one spot, cool, but if it's not, you can of course have a few other options you can use too. Again, though, that's when you get into the crazy CI installer stuff and you get issues going on with that stuff here and there. Now let's really talk about the Wi-Fi versus hardwiring. Yes, you can hardwire this, which I think is always a big thing to do. Now, when I do installations and when I do service call stuff, 95% of the time I go right just for the Wi-Fi alone, because it's pretty rare when you actually have one of these. Now if we're in like a mesh system, you can always throw another node near this and hardwire it. For my testing though, in this house, we're about 12,000 square feet here. I've not had any Wi-Fi issues so far. Now I do have a pretty extensive mesh network here, so I kind of designed that system to not give me any issues when it comes to Wi-Fi. But of course your mileage may vary based on the house, the construction, are you all concrete, everything, you might get some issues here and there. You never really know. But so far what I've seen really no Wi-Fi issues so far out of this thing, which has been pretty nice so far. So it's just one of those things that kind of just, solves issues without costing tons and tons of money. Is there programming to this? I mean, kinda, like a tiny amount. Could you do it yourself? Yeah, it's pretty easy DIY-able stuff to do. It's really not anything that's like crazy hassle, really anything wild there. But the nice thing is you have the in and outs of both analog and the ARC HDMI ports here. So whether you want to throw a subwoofer, you know, in this corner for this room here, but your wiring is 25 feet that way, you can do it. That's the thing about this thing, is it just works whenever you need to be firing audio, say, to or from your main Juke audio system. This allows you to do that wirelessly. Because of course, you know, when a house is built, you can't just add in wiring relatively easily. I mean, you can do it, but you might have, say, a ton of drywall damage, or you need to get someone up in the attic there to really get to some really tight spots. That's where you run into those issues really fast there. Of course, this thing does integrate with Control 4, but you don't have to use Control 4 with this. You can actually just use the app yourself and be totally fine. Now, I used to be a big Sonos guy, you know, I used to be big into everything with Sonos, and it works great, blah, blah, blah. But Sonos had so many issues recently. Whenever you get something that is so much more simpler, so much more easy to use, especially like the Juke Audio Mate, this is kind of just the way to go, you know. And at $250, it's really not terrible. I mean, if it was cool, if it was cheaper, but then again, though, this thing has a lot of development behind it, and the Juke audio system is overall pretty solid system for what it is. You know, you buy a couple of amps, maybe even just one if you need a couple of zones, grab a couple of these, and you're good to go right out the bat. And you can have an entire system up and running. I mean, DIY, probably 2-3 hours. If you got the wiring in place, speakers are in place, and you just need a few solutions like this, you're good to go. It's just that simple. If you're looking for a system that's going to be A, easy to install, B, not going to just destroy your bank account, of course, installing it, the Juke Audio Mate system is kind of the way to go, in my opinion. Now, whether you're, you know, connecting in a sound bar into your system, or you want to power, you know, a powered sub in the back of your room, you know, you can do all of that with the Audio Mate all in one box here. So you can do a lot of cool stuff. I mean, my only complaint would be, you know, give me some more mounting options on this thing. You know, I'm throwing this behind the TV. I'm not really a Velcro guy myself. I don't like being able to, you know, you got to pull Velcro and stick it in the back of the TV, blah, blah, blah. I like zip ties because you can snap them off, you know, move them around, and they don't really leave any residue behind. That's kind of my only complaint on this thing, but the nice thing is everything's easy to read, you know, power, Wi-Fi, reset button there, which is nice to have. An actual hard reset button is always cool to have on these things. So, you know, it's not trying to replace, you know, these big monster systems you can install in a house, you know, but it's really trying to be something that can be simply installed and just, you know, solve a nice, you know, problem with an easy solution, you know, and that's what the Audio Mate's just trying to do, is try to solve the issue and just say, hey, it's just that, it's affordable, boom, you're done, and there you go. So if you guys want to read the full review, it's at hometheaterreview.com. I'll put a link in the description below, guys. So thanks for watching. Take care, guys. Have a great day. Stay safe out there.